Mashing up media. Wow, when you hear that term, that means we're taking bits and pieces of different types of media, putting them together to really change the message. That's the key to what mashing up is. It also takes a very much higher level thinking because you've got to analyze not only the media clip, but then how can you change it and how can you fit it with other things. So it really it really takes a lot of work to begin to pull pieces of media and put them together. So before you even begin your adventure out to YouTube or iTunes or anywhere else, you got to decide on your message. What do you want your project to say? Meaning, what do you want them to know after they view your project? You always have to think of how you're going to share the project first. Because a lot of people, first thing they think is, great, I'll send it through email. No. Usually a multimedia project is way too big to send it through email. So what's your plan to publish things? So that's your important thing to think up front. So then you can be thinking about what is the end result. You have to think about your target audience. Is it just your teacher that's going to be grading it? Is it your colleagues? What do we have to keep in mind with that target audience? What's the expected length? Now, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to make a 10-minute movie. No, you really should be thinking more along 2 to 3 minutes. And that's really hard to get a message in 2 to 3 minutes. So that's why I would start with this point, is to decide on your message, your plan, your focus. What do you want? Where do you want to go? So you really think about that up front because you really only have 2 or 3 minutes of video real estate to tackle your message. The more time you spend in planning is going to pay off in the long run. Because if you just jump in and start, oh, I have this piece, I have this piece, I have this piece, pretty soon you're going to have a hodgepodge of lots of things, but they're not going to seamlessly fit together. Remember, you always have to think about what is the message you want your audience to hear after seeing what you have created. Now, when I hear mashing up, everyone thinks that's something bad. It's not bad. It just means that you're taking audio images, still images, video, and mixing it up to create a different message. Usually when you hear the term mashup, it means that the media has been taken kind of out of context and put in with something else to create a new meaning. But that's not always true. For example, the Schoolhouse Rocks are all on YouTube. A lot of them, you got to be really careful. Watch them all the way through before showing them to a class, because a lot of them have been mashed up. Meaning they start out like, woohoo, I remember this back in my jammies, back in the 70s and 80s, and all of a sudden they'll take a turn. They're masterfully done because you don't expect the turn. But there's a whole series out there, I think they're called the Public School Rock, and wow, really, when you study them from a media point of view, they did a great job of mixing them up. So you really are caught unaware. And then you're all the way through. You don't want to be in that position. Watch them all the way through if you're going to show them to a class. Okay, now when we talk about audio, narration is a wonderful tool to use from preschool all the way up. Music gets a little more dicey because most of the time you did not write that music or you're the performer of the music. So you only can really take 30 seconds out of any song. Audio tracks from movies, same thing. You didn't write, produce that movie, so you have to take just the 30-second clip. And then sound clips, there's so many websites out there that you can just get clips, like you need Tony the Tiger roaring, or you just want applause or something like that. There's websites that have done that for you, kind of sliced and diced everything up for you and made them accessible. Many of those are called soundboard. And my favorite one out there is soundboard.com. Unfortunately, I started charging for it, but it's not for everything, but for some things, and it's not that outrageous. But soundboard, no S, stay away from the one with the S. And neither of really none of the audio sites should be used with students because many of them do have a mature section. Stay away. Now, if you want to mix up your own audio, you want to be your own disc jockey. Maybe you want a little music at the beginning, then you want to go into your narration and end with a little music. You can't do a lot of that manipulation in the movie production program itself. Audacity is hands down my favorite way to do it on the PC. On the Mac, we have the luxury of having GarageBand, which is fantastic. But Audacity is free, and you can go ahead and mix up different tracks of music with again, just the music at the beginning, then the narration. So Audacity is free. Audacity also has a plugin that comes with it that is called Lame. Like you're lame, you're limping, you're lame. And Lame lets you produce the clip that you make as an MP3 player. Unfortunately, Audacity and Lame are separate, so you have to download and follow the instructions one time to go ahead and get the Lame installed correctly. But once you do, you can produce MP3, whatever you want. You can do your own ringtones, you can do all different things. It really is a really fantastic open source audio mixing software. Love it. This is what it looks like. And so each one, so like let's imagine that top track is going to be your music. Then you want to come in with your voice. So you're going to probably chop part of the top track, then the voice, and maybe put some of the track at the end also. And so you can see right now they'd be kind of talking over each other. The music would be playing while the person is speaking. So you just kind of slice and dice everything up in pieces. It works really, really well for a free piece of software. And this is where, once you have the Lame installed, then you have the choice of exporting as an MP3. Okay, let's talk music. Again, music can be a little tricky because of copyright. And iTunes is right now the biggest music store in the world, and second only to Walmart, which is very interesting. But iTunes is the biggest collection. It also is very difficult to get music out of iTunes and into projects, but it's a great way to find and search for music. The hard part is following copyright. Copyright says you can use 30 seconds of a song versus the entire song. So that gets a little difficult. So when we're talking about mashups, it's a little of this, a little of this, a little of this. Narration works really well because then you don't have to worry about copyright. So maybe just a short little segment of a song, narration, short segment, and so on and so forth. I love this site, Flocabulary and Educational Hip Hop. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's all vocabulary words tied to music, which is really interesting. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. I'm all about working with words whenever possible. Here is another place that, and I'll tell you, people use this all the time for teachers and educational songs in the classroom. Get kids singing. I just love that they think they're cooler than Schoolhouse Rock. No, no, no. Come on, that's a sacred old cow. I don't know about that one. But get kids moving, get them thinking, get them singing, learning. It's all about learning, whatever it takes. This one is one that's used a lot in my tech camps. And songs for teaching. I'm telling you, there's people out there that just write songs for basically everything in the curriculum. I can't tell you how many songs I have heard about. Oh, everything. Everything. The water cycle. The water cycle. You can't believe how many songs, different songs, I've heard just about the water cycle. Now, this group I love. This group is one of my favorites. They're called the Science Groove. And the Science Groove, this is their database that they are putting together of all math and science songs. Okay, these people even have backup singers. Glucose is my favorite one, which is part of parody of Sugar, Glucose, Sugar. Yeah. Last year somebody did Take Me to the Liver. I'll just let it hang out there. Yeah, imagine what song it went with and the topic. Let's just leave that the way it is. Here they are. They get together, and it is a group, I believe, of professors in Washington State that sing science songs. Yay for them and making everybody happy with their full-length MP3s. Okay, sound clips. Gotta be careful with sound clips because there's inappropriate ones. But one of the sites that I love is called Sounds Abound. This is a great group. I met them recently, and it's all about royalty-free music, so you don't have to worry about it. You can just have students come to Sounds Abound, and you know that you are following copyright because everything in their library is protected under, it is okay to use. And so when students use this, you know you're okay. But of course, with that said, there is a fee for Sounds Abound. It's not outrageous, but there is a fee. This is my favorite. Well, it actually was my favorite until they started charging for a lot of things. And soundboard, not with an S, that crosses into nasty things. You can search and find really interesting songs, but they're also moving to more of a less of a freemium, which means free, to a for purchase. If you really are into mixing sounds and putting sounds in your interactive whiteboard lessons and so on and so forth, then it might be worth the annual fee, which it really isn't that outrageous. But it really, I'm not sure who's organizing all these sounds, but yay, thanks for them because it's a great collection to have. Stay away from the mature part of it, though. Trust me on that one. Now, a lot of you subscribe to what used to be called United Streaming. It's now called Discovery Streaming. And little known fact about Discovery Streaming, most people know that it has video clips that have been sliced up and diced up into little pieces. But it also has audio clips, clip art, images. The nice part is it's all under the Discovery Education login password, so you know you're not going to run into the inappropriate sounds that you'd find over on Soundboard. So Discovery Streaming can be a great place. You can even set it up as a center for students to go in and look for different sounds. Okay, now some kids want to use audio tracks from videos. Biggest place to go, of course, is the giant of them all, is YouTube. And there's all different clips on YouTube, but you can go in, you just have to make sure you follow the copyright, and that's the key. When you find something on YouTube that you might want to slice and dice and chop apart and just take pieces, step in Zamzar.com. And Zamzar for me is working the best right now as I produce this. Zamzar.com lets you convert. So what you do is you take that, you go to the movie that you want on YouTube, copy the address or the URL, that's what the address is called, and then what you do is you paste it in under step 1. If you look at the bottom where it says step 1, select files, URL, you click on that, paste in the link that you want. The file format that you want, if you are on a PC, you want WMV. If you are on a Mac, you want MOV. And if all you want is the soundtrack to slice and dice apart, you want MP3. So let me go over that. WMV for WMV for PC, MOV for Mac, MP3 just for audio. Another site that works pretty well, okay, most of the time it works well, is Listen to YouTube. So if you just want the MP3 from YouTube, go to listentoyoutube.com, and it's usually quite a bit faster than Zamzar. What Zamzar does is they actually email it to you and you download it on your end. But Listen to YouTube works pretty well and pretty quickly. Now with digital images, again, you want to make sure that you have the right to use the digital images. Flickr, lots of them are licensed under Creative Commons. And I love that picture with all those cameras. And if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, the search button, you search and then you go to advanced search because you want to make sure that they're licensed under Creative Commons. They're not copyright only. Now, Google Images is a little bit more loose. They don't do, they You can search for things licensed under Creative Commons, but sometimes other things appear or people have reposted things that really were copyrighted. So that always can be a little bit tricky. And I find Flickr has fewer offensive images than Google. All right, now let's talk video. Back to YouTube. If you just want to take pieces of it, you got to get it off YouTube like we showed you with Zamzar. And then you can slice and dice and cut it apart, again, following copyright. This is, for each video, this is really important. A lot of people don't realize on YouTube you can make it public or you can make it private, where you can only let certain people see it. You also, at the bottom, you can see you can license it under the standard YouTube license or, again, under Creative Commons saying reuse and so on and so forth. Just be careful. Make sure whatever you upload to YouTube that you have the rights to upload it, that you haven't used a full-length song, and so on and so forth. Now the piecing it all together. That's the mashing up part. You've copied what you need, and you've cut out just the parts you need, and the mashing up itself is done either in Windows Movie Maker on the PC or iMovie on the Mac. Those are the two biggies. The third one that's always in my repertoire also is Adobe Premiere Elements. I love that. And you can see all the mashing up is done at the bottom, where we have some still images, some music, put in a video, titles, things like that. All the mashing up is done along the timeline. Again, slicing and dicing just to exactly what you want. That was a quick overview of mashing up media, but when you take bits and pieces and you put it all together, that's what mashing up media is. Thanks.